Right then, a few weeks ago, we left you with the question, what football team is related to this scarf here?
And is my favourite football team. Well, last time, all you did see was the backside of the scarf. But this time, I'm going to reveal to you the best football team in all of England and winner of the FA Cup against Everton 1-0. Glory, glory, Man United! And the Reds go marching on. Right, Manchester United, the best team in the world, right?
Okay, congratulations, everybody. Thank you.
Congratulations and jubilations. I want to tell the world that I'm in love with you. I said you.
Never before here in 85 have we had such a potential opportunity to make those collective dreams come true as we do in 1985. Led by Bryan Adams and Corey Hart, Canadian artists seem more than ready to stand alone and turn heads all over the world. So, this show is a tribute to their talents and in a small way a celebration of our country's search for itself. Let's start appropriately enough with last year's Juno winner as most promising group, Toronto's Parachute Club, who are again nominated this year, but as Group of the Year, as our Triumph, who have something special to add tonight, and then surely the Disappointment of the Year, both for their fans and themselves, and to me, Paul Hyde and the Payolas.
Well, you know, one thing that's been really interesting for us, and this is like, I like to turn it around to the audience for a second, because it's like, I feel like many times the radio people don't give the audiences that listen to them enough credit for how they create a group. Like for us, it was the audience and the support that the people that buy our records have given us over the year that have more than anything allowed us to carry on. It's not just because they buy the record. I mean, like the emotional support and their response to us when we play, their encouragement and their letters and things like that. For us, that's been, for me anyway, the single most important thing that keeps me in music, doing what I'm doing.
I don't know. A lot of them like us, a lot of them don't like us.
Things have been changing. See, the band will be 10 years old this September. And in the early days, I think, first of all, critics generally, they tend to be fairly derogatory about hard rock.
No kidding.
Yeah. and so that's what we are. We're a hard rock band. And so in the beginning, it was like, oh, gee, these guys are terrible. They're the worst thing on the face of the earth. And then after we'd paid our dues and survived for 5, 6 years, then the critics sort of said, well, geez, they've survived. There must be something that we're missing. Why are the kids buying the tickets and the albums, and why are record companies throwing their money away on this terrible stuff? And then after 7 years or 8 years, they say, geez, you know, there's a couple of things about this band that are okay, and maybe it's this, maybe it's this. And now we're 10 years old, and they're going, wow, these guys are great. What a fabulous show, and what great records.
So the move to go to Foster as a producer.
The move to go to Foster is not a calculated one, really. It's just, in terms of producer, like our last producer, Mick Ronson, he's a very musical guy, which is different from, you know, hiring a snare drummer, a sound or something. And he worked really well, but we thought it was time to move on. And the reason why we got David Foster is because he's also a musician, songman, compared to being a sound person. And he's written some great songs, and he's worked with some great people, so.
So we need somebody to take these, you know, the great songs that we already have and sprinkle a bit more magic on them, like.
Yeah, and also it's a bit of, doesn't really work with bands like us. And so there's a bit of the going against the grain. So that kind of situation, I think, is the best kind, you know,
it's good to take risks.
Yeah.
It's good to take risks.
Hi, I'm Mike Reno. And I'm Paul Dean. Hey, have you heard the news? There's good rockin' tonight. Oh, have you heard the news? There's good rockin' tonight.
Thank you, Mike Reno. Paul Dean from Loverboy, who finally released the new album, Lovin' Every Minute of It, with both the single and the album working their way up the charts. There was word of a Loverboy tour early in '86 and a new video in about 2 weeks' time. Everybody connected with the group knows that it's time for this powerhouse band to regain its fans and friends. Drummer and all-around nice guy Matt Frenette came by to talk to us.
Do you not have a fear, as a group, I'm speaking on behalf of the group, that the longer you stay out of the public's eye, the harder it will be to get them to recall, to come back being fans?
I hope not. I mean, a lot of groups have done that. Foreigner has done that, for instance. And
yeah.
Pat Benatar's taken some breaks. ZZ Top took 2 years off.
Yeah.
And came back with a killer record. And,
yeah, they did.
And just put it away. And I think at some point the band worked so hard for 3 years, you know, over 200 shows a year on the road, and I think we needed to rejuvenate, you know, the writing and inspiration and get back to some early roots and let everybody relax a little bit so we don't have to force this record.
It doesn't matter where you are or who you're with or what show you're doing. I think there's something to be learned from it. It's just being able to digest it, you know, and be able to use whatever, you know, you want from it and making it yours. Becoming a performer is not an easy thing, and it just takes a lot of time, and you just got to play a lot of shows. Somebody came up to me the other night in a restaurant and said, you know, there's this course I should, you know, that I've been offered, you know, if I pay, you know, all this money to this course, then they're going to make me a star. And I said, oh, no, 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 no. You don't understand. You have to go out there and play all those dingy clubs, and you have to find some songs you like, and if that'll be the test. That'll be, you know, to find out if you want to do it. I mean, no one's just going to put you on a pedestal and say, here you are, you've arrived. I mean, you have to work for that.
Some quick things here. You knew Reckless was, you even very cockily predicted that Reckless was going to be big stuff. But were you thinking in terms of 3.5 mil big, going on 4, and the biggest selling album in Canada?
I thought it was going to be a big album, but I didn't know it would be the status as it is now. And I certainly didn't think that we'd attain, you know, the success in Canada that we have. You know, we're here, and it's done what it's done.
Bryan Adams came home to Vancouver September 1st and 2nd at the Pacific Coliseum. Both shows sold out in what? Was it 2.5 hours? The evening was pure magic, and we captured this evening for you with interviews with the band, the road crew, manager Bruce Allen, Paul Dean, and Jim Vallance, and Bryan himself. Bryan left Vancouver 9 months ago as a real comer. He returned a star. Next week, join us for Bryan Adams' Homecoming Special. And speaking of Bryan, he and Bruce Allen chose Luba to open his earlier Canadian tour, both of them recognizing what a wonderful voice and stage presence she had.
We're here at Scuttlebutt Lodge with Luba, of course, who just was on a trout fishing trip. Did you like the challenge of the Adams? You must have enjoyed that challenge of going out there and having to really do a number.
Yes,
yeah.
Definitely. We didn't know if we'd go over well with his audience. I was expecting the worst, but I'm the type of person, I'm unfortunately a pessimist. And yet, everybody just reacted so well. The audiences were incredible. I can't say anything more about, they were just so responsive, and I was quite thrilled. I think it's nice to be able to make a mark out, you know, internationally, and yet if you don't do it within your own country.
I think as well as women getting into rock, the field of rock, performing it, there are more women being more aggressive and being more open about buying heavy records and things like that. I mean, I get a lot of women that come up to see my shows. And I get a lot of girls, actually, that even come backstage and go, wow, you know, I find you an inspiration. You know, I'd love to be doing what you're doing. There really are just as many women out there who'd love to be, I'm sure, involved in rock and roll, but because it's been so male-dominated in the past, maybe they're just a little intimidated, or they don't really know how to get into it, and only the real aggressive ones actually go out there and dive into it.
No Canadian special, at least Beaver Fever Part 2, would be complete without talking to Honeymoon Suite, Johnny and Derry are here. Now, fine. I'm going to ask you in a second about your favorite Canadian group or groups they're in. But, Derry, I know that you know exactly who you like.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
No. I have to say, from a writing standpoint myself, I'm a big fan of Bryan Adams as well as Corey Hart.
Yeah.
Very strong and very consistent people.
Lady?
Lady? I like Luba.
Yeah.
I really love the girl's voice.
Yeah.
And that's all.
Okay.
See, he just
You
said
got 30 seconds.
Okay, well, just a second. Like, he picked one. I like Bryan Adams. I like Luba. She's like Triumph. I like Corey Hart.
Yeah.
I like everything.
All right.
Like, I just can't pick one Canadian artist because I'm Canadian myself. And I think, you know, that I like everyone, you know.
Including Honeymoon Suite.
Yes. Well, come on.
Who have yet to realize full potential.
Hello, I'm Mark Holmes, and that is
Kenny McLean.
And we are Platinum Blonde, and you're watching Good Rockin'.
Tonight.
I said that. Tonight. Yes, I did.
We didn't.
Did.
Didn't.
I did.
Didn't.
Listen, I did.
Starting off this set is Kitchener's Helix, who this spring released the extremely successful Long Way to Heaven album, Fired by 2 singles, they've been rewarded with 2 Juno nominations for Album and Group of the Year. And because they spend so much time there, we asked Helix what it was like touring in Britain.
See, it's a tradition over there to get canned, and what can is that they have like mineral water bottles that are like empty plastic bottles, and whether they like you or not, if it's your first time in England, they're thrown at you. I come out for the first word, first line, first song ever in England. I had a ball go boom. Right? That's great to be here. Right? Welcome. It's a blast, right? You go over there and you see different cultures, and you see how people live differently from this country, and you come back to Canada and you say, gee, I really appreciate a lot of things that I overlooked. Because when you're outside looking in, it's quite different. People don't realize, I think at times, how lucky they are to live in this country. I believe this country is probably the best country in the world to live in. I sincerely believe that.
Being someone who's always got his ears open and eyes open to all things going on in life, I mean, an artist has to do that. He has to reflect. You know, he has to be sensitive, and he has to know how to desensitize himself at the right times, you know. And, but when it comes down to writing a song, you pick up the guitar and you're playing, and eventually you something starts to unfold. You can feel it starting to unfold, and all of a sudden everything goes away. It's like riding a motorcycle 120 miles an hour. You're not thinking about what you had for lunch 2 hours ago. You're just there going like this. And that's a simple process that just happens when a song starts to unfold for me, and it's the most incredible high. It's one of the highs in this business that I love.
Alan had such a great year that he's nominated for 3 Junos, including Album of the Year. And then we'll talk to Corey Hart, who, just like last year, has to follow in the shadow of Bryan Adams. However, I can't see anything that will stand in his way of being shoulder to shoulder with Bryan for years to come. What a great 1-2 punch they are. He's up for 4 Junos this November. Corey Hart and, to some extent, Bryan Adams have both had the same bitch about the Canadian industry, and that is it will recognize its own only after they have proven themselves somewhere else. Do you agree with this principle?
I don't know. I don't know too much about the industry itself. All I know is that whenever I've played in front of Canadian audiences, they've reacted favorably, and I really wouldn't want to comment on that. I just feel that people are all the same, and I find Canadian audiences to be great. As far as the industry goes, well, I obviously had a bad experience with my first album, but I learned from that, and I feel, the richer for it.
8th week, #1, it's our man, Mr. Corey Hart.
Do you need to break yourself in Canada? Would you be quite content to go straight stateside and start from there?
Well, I've had quite a bit of success in Canada, not to the degree that you always strive for more. I feel that Canada will take me and really get behind me when I'm a success in America, and that's fine. That's a whole other story about the Canadian process and their artists, which we'll save for another time.
It's an amazing story, because there are a lot of artists who can't get to first base in Canada, and they go to the States. And when they go to the States and they make waves in the States, they're welcomed back as heroes. And secondly, there is resentment in Canada saying, well, you went to the States, and
But they were ignored when they were here.
Damn if you do and damn if you don't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in my case, I don't think that I think Sunglasses at Night, as a single when it was released out of the box, there's a bunch of stations that went on it, but which was great. But I feel that the record in America is going to be a big success, and I think that as you said, I think that in turn Canada will recognize me as a viable international, star or recording artist.
Wow.
And which is a shame, because I mean, you look at the charts here in Canada, and you go through the top 20, and there's not an act, and there's not a song or an act that's there. I mean, 1 or 2 get through.
Okay, but hey, let's play devil's advocate here for a second. Would that be a reflection of the Canadian rock and roll scene? That we're just not strong enough? We think we're strong, but we're not.
Well, no, I don't. I think that, I mean, that there are problems with it. Yeah. But it exists everywhere. I just think of a country like Australia, it's got 15 million people, and if they can keep churning out these bands that are heralded as, the new thing, there's no way that I believe Canada doesn't have the same talent.